Good morning. I'm going to try to address the anxiety of a possible COVID 19 outbreak following the Carnival festivities over the weekend. Now, in the last February the 14th update by the government, the Ministry of Health reported a 7-day rolling average of 45 cases per day. So the government is detecting 45 COVID 19 cases per day. Well, this is obviously erroneous. The majority of cases in Trinidad and Tobago are not reported to the government anymore because persons are doing home antigen testing or they're being tested by their physicians. For every single case that is detected, there may be 5, even up to 10 times more contacts who are also positive. For example, if you test, and this is a common practice now, if you test one individual in a home and they test positive for COVID, you wouldn't go about testing their children and their spouse and so on if they are also similarly symptomatic. You will assume that it is COVID and you would advise the family to stay home for a requisite time until they recover. The government is still insisting on a 10-day quarantine, which is preposterous. So, for every case that is actually detected by antigen, maybe there are about 5 more cases. However, the vast majority of cases are not reported to the government. So the government statistics at this time, they hold no water. Now, XBB 1.5 has been circulating since about January. In the Western world, it has become the dominant variant. And it is so mild and basically similar to or equivalent to the common cold that the majority of jurisdictions and the majority of health services around the world are not really bothered with it. We don't have a spike in deaths, and because testing internationally has become decentralized and it's being done in doctors' offices or at home, we don't even see a spike in cases. So in North America, Canada, the UK, there's no spike in deaths. Even though XBB is extremely contagious, it is extremely mild. If a person has viral symptoms, you should assume that they have COVID, and it's not a problem. It really is not a problem because this particular subvariant of Omicron does not really go in the lungs. It does not really cause acute respiratory distress syndrome. It's not a threat really. It's not more of a threat than influenza or most of the other viruses out there. If you're an extremely frail person, for example, you're elderly and you have you're bedbound or you're very prone to pneumonia, if you have a problem like that, the current subvariant can be a threat to your health, much as the common cold or influenza will be. Okay, I'm also getting reports that health services across the country, they are scaling up and they are preparing for a mass outbreak. Well, I think that this is nonsense. What may happen and what is likely to happen is that if you fearmonger among the medical professionals, their threshold for testing or their propensity to test persons who are symptomatic with viral illness will increase substantially. So just remember, the number of cases being reported by the government reflects the number of PCR tests being done in the public sector and forwarded to the government. So, if you have mass hysteria or if you have a lot of fear and anxiety ramped up within the medical fraternity, they themselves will start testing more aggressively, and suddenly you'll have an increased number of cases being detected, registered, and reported to the government. This can create panic. So I'd like the population to be mindful of this potential phenomenon, that the number of cases being reported is really reflective of the anxiety or the propensity to test by the medical fraternity. Currently and since January, we have had a high number of cases in the community, in schools. We've had a high number of cases in workplaces, in homes. People are not being affected significantly. It's a minor cold, it lasts for a few days and they get over. So I am also pleading, I'm asking for my medical colleagues not to fuel anxiety. Please don't do unnecessary testing. If you detect COVID in a household, it's not necessary to test everyone. If one person has it and the other person is symptomatic, it's not necessary to go and test everyone. It's an invasive test, it's very uncomfortable, right? So I hope that this provides some clarity on the matter of the possible COVID-19 outbreak after Carnival. If you were to see any anomaly or any spike in cases, please do consider or factor in the issue of anxious testing, and take a close look at the death rate. Take a close look and ask yourselves again: are we getting persons who are succumbing to acute respiratory distress syndrome, or is COVID-19, if it is associated with a higher death rate, is it that persons are dying with COVID or they're dying from COVID? I think most cases now, most deaths reported are simply with COVID. Okay, so thank you very much for your attention, and take care.